Hi, I am Awesome John 22, making up for lost time. This is going to be my fourth review. I've already done 3 sets of 3 Cyberverse figures. I'm going to call this my first real review because this is my first time reviewing something that wasn't a Cyberverse figure. Anyone who knows their Transformers can see this is the recent Deluxe class movie Optimus Prime. Wheels are making a lot of noise on my desk. They are molded plastic wheels, so obviously they're going to be noisy. If you know this figure, you know that there was a lot of talk about it when it first came out. What can I say about this figure? I like this figure. That's something to say about it. You can see it's got really good paint. Great painted detail there. Great silver paint here and here. You can see actual windshields, which we will get to this later, but these actual windshields become the actual chest piece, which is a very refreshing change. In fact, the transformation of this guy is pretty much spot on as a simplified version of the leader class figure, other than the fact that his arms do not come out of the front of the truck. Which is probably the only thing that really bums me out about this guy. I'll get to that later. Great silver on his rims, great silver all over on his smokestacks, which are Hasbro short. Gas tanks. Even as a trailer hitch, I don't know why, if they planned on coming out with a trailer for him and it just never panned out. But he has it, and it's kind of awesome. You can see his legs there, and you can see there's some gaps, but it's not really a big deal because overall he's a good figure and he rolls fine. I mean, zoom out to show you that this time. He rolls fine. He's a good little size. I'll show him. Here he is with the Legions that I just finished reviewing. You can see he's a little bigger than he probably should be if you really care that much about scale. But overall, pretty good. Get them out of the way. Feel I have to do size comparisons since this is the first figure I'm reviewing that isn't from a series that is pretty much all uniform one size. But yeah, and as you can see, I'm starting in vehicle mode. This is how my standard reviews are going to be. I'm going to try to stick to vehicle mode. He is a Dark of the Moon figure. Dark of the Moon. Don't know what that was. So he does come with a mech tech, which is the Axe mech tech that now doesn't want to work for some reason. There we go. That transforms from a blaster into an axe. I think this came with movie Mudflap originally, and I promptly switched it with my Bumblebee, the little Bumblebee with the boosters on his back. I can't remember what he was actually called. Switched their weapons because it seemed more fitting for Bumblebee to have an axe, and Mudflap to have an engine gun. But we'll get to that when I actually review those figures. This is obviously a homage to Generation 1 Optimus, who had a blaster and an Energon axe, as well as makes a decent stand-in for the axe that he used briefly in Dark of the Moon, which I like Dark of the Moon. I plan on reviewing it somewhere down the road. If anyone actually watches these videos, let me know what you think of me reviewing Dark of the Moon, especially this far after the fact, and give me your opinion on it. I always like to hear my viewers' opinions. Anyway, he has mech tech ports. He can sit on top, but he really only has the 2. You can see him there. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about the vehicle. It's a vehicle. It's a really nice Peterbilt truck. The hitch section is, well, it's not a little too big. It's too big. Too long. It's a little too long on the leader version, and on the recent Voyager class, not the Dark of the Moon Voyager class, the Battle Blades Optimus Prime. It's still a little too long on that, but that's fine. I'm going to point out real quick. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of a paint error there, because it looks like this piece was a lighter plastic. This is two separate pieces. This piece was a lighter plastic, and this is this blue plastic, and the red didn't quite coat it right. Just now noticed that. I thought it was worth pointing out. Doesn't really detract that much from the look of the figure. It's still a really good looking figure. And it's got lots of, not chrome, but silver, which I prefer silver paint to chroming. I don't really like chrome. It chips. This will eventually chip or scratch or something, but it won't chip as readily or scratch as readily as chrome. Therefore I like it better. One issue with the vehicle mode, this section here is meant to squeeze together completely. Right now on mine it is kind of defeating the whole purpose of pointing it out. Eventually it will, because this is spring loaded, which you'll see in a minute. It will separate itself just a tiny bit, most likely. And it is kind of a pain to get pegged together. I'm kind of surprised it stayed this long. Anyway, there's obviously his hips through the side there. Onto the transformation. We're going to start by pulling this forward. It's on a little slidey hinge, or slidey. Let's call it a slidey. It's on a slidey. You can see right there what I mean. This is already coming apart. We'll do that first. Then we'll take this. And you can see here, there's some little gray pegs underneath here, and these are what are his arms. They peg into these little slots on his legs. Keep it secure. Unpeg that, then straighten the legs back out and fold forward. Fold the hip piece forward like that. Then take this and rotate it around. Actually, don't do that yet. I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll start out by actually splitting his arms, which, embarrassed now. Split his arms. You're going to feel like you're going to break this little tab here, or this little peg here. You're not. They hold together much better than you would expect. Yeah, split his arms. See, not that difficult. Fold them around so that they peg into the sides of the cab. Then take the arms and fold them down and fold them up. You can lift this piece to get more clearance. Then rotate him around. See, I'm stupid, but I fixed it, so it's cool. Then this folds up, and it doesn't really clip anywhere, but if you see, he's got the little Autobot symbol there as his hood ornament. It kind of fits underneath there and kind of holds it, which is okay. Now split his legs, because like every Transformer ever, his legs peg together. Take his hitch piece, fold it up, then rotate that flat, and that becomes his toe. Do that on both sides, of course. And here, where the front wheel would be on a figure that transforms like the leader, it's actually the back wheel, and it folds up in here, but we're not going to get to that yet. First, unpeg his legs, and you have to kind of use some force, as you can see. This, you can see it in there. There's a tab on this piece that fits into that slot inside there. Untab it from there, slide it down, and straighten it out. It doesn't really lock in place too securely. It locks in via a little friction peg here, but it holds together well enough. Do that on both sides, obviously. For some reason, this one comes off the tab a lot more easily than the other. I don't know why. Slide it in. You can see. You can kind of see them coming together. Now, fold this up. It just ends up on the inside there. Fill in the feet. give him heels. There he stands. Bring his arms down, split that, up comes his head, a little bit of automorph there. And there you have him, and you've seen him, if you've watched my earlier videos, you've seen him standing behind all my Cyberverse figures on my desk. He's a little tall to be placed in scale with the Cyberverse figures. I readily admit that. But I just simply like this figure, and he is still, at least in my opinion, in better scale with them than the Cyberverse Commander Prime is. I'll show you what I mean. Like I said, first real view, so you need size comparison. There he is with Cyberverse Commander Ironhide. Slide them back a bit so we can get them completely in frame. Still new at this, guys. Give me a break. You can see Ironhide only comes up about to his waist. He should probably come up more about midway through his chest. And with Bumblebee, you can see Bumblebee is not nearly tall enough. But it's still fine. It's alright. And he's a good... He's not good. He's a great miniature Optimus Prime. Movie Optimus Prime. He's just fantastic if you like smaller Transformers. You can see his back is the entire front of the truck. It doesn't fold up at all. It doesn't fold up neatly. The wheels that should have been on his legs are on the back, and the wheels that should have been on his legs are on his feet. But otherwise, he's a good approximation. He has excellent articulation, as is to be expected. When the leg pieces aren't sliding up on you. He has a 90-degree rotation at the knee. He can rotate all the way around at the thigh, in and out, forward and back at the hip. If you untab this just a little bit, he does have a bit of hip rotation. Wow. Double joint at the elbow, which is nice. No wrist, but, you know, it's a Deluxe. And rotation at the bicep. In and out, forward and back at the shoulder. This piece hinders a full rotation at the shoulder, unless you kind of do that. And then he, of course, like most figures nowadays, has rotation at the head, and kind of, he can do a turtle head thing. I am Optimus Prime. Yeah, very cool. And if you look at him, if you really look at him, he's got the new abdominal details that were added to Optimus Prime for the third movie. He's got a very nice movie Optimus head sculpt, and I'm gonna kind of hold him up more to my light. See if you can see he does have great light piping in his eyes. Well, where else would it be? And what really impresses me about this guy is, like I said before, his windshield actually becomes the split chest, the windshield chest. His silver carries in very nicely into the robot mode, though most of the silver detail, if you don't count this bit here, about knocked him over, ends up in the legs. You can see even most of the robot mode silver that is a part of the robot ends up in the legs. And the silver on the front of the truck is completely useless in robot mode. This is not staying, this leg. Anyway, he does have some flaws. His arms just don't look quite big enough to me. He's not really gorilla-ish in proportion, but his arms do seem a bit proportionately larger in other figures and in the character model. and there's not a lot of red on his arms, and there's clearly the back of a truck attached to the bottom of his arm. There's also the issue that this was a Walmart, I think it was a Walmart exclusive, I'm pretty sure. Some exclusives are fine, but I don't understand why Walmart and Target need their own exclusives. Walmart especially, I don't consider Walmart to be a I don't consider Walmart to be a reputable retail store. Let's put it that way. And I don't think it needed to have its own movie exclusives for Transformers. Target, fine. I like Target a lot. Anyway, there he is. He can hold his weapon, of course, since peg size is pretty much standard now. Actually fits in his hands much better than it fits in the mech tech ports. It's not black. I wish it were black so it would look more like his G1 blaster. Gimmick works, of course. You can have him Optimus Prime chop people. You can also, if you want to, still peg it into the mech tech port, which is now on his shoulder. Give him a giant shoulder prime cannon. It's hard to get back out though, which is frustrating. Another flaw, I guess you could call it, is if you can see this. The way the hinge works for the wheel pieces, it sits just a little lower than it should. That central hinge, it makes him a little bit unstable from time to time, but like you can kind of see it there, it sticks down a little bit, but his toesies rotate, so you can kind of correct for it, I guess. And it's more of a nitpick than a flaw in the first place. I guess the real question, though, is do I recommend this figure to Transformers fans and collectors? Yes, I do. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. I think it's a great desk Transformer. My mom actually collects Transformers for her desk at work, smaller ones. I'm planning on getting this one for her to put on her desk next time I see one. So yeah, final verdict, great toy, go get it. And this is Awesome John 22 signing off.